All right, let's talk about Chris Jones's future with the Chiefs, potential new locations for Arrowhead Stadium, the NFL changing its overtime rules, and much more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL overall. So make sure to sub if you're new around here, hit that like button, check the description for timestamps in case you want to skip around, and let's just get into the news. So let's start off with Chris Jones on Twitter yesterday. He had a series of 3 tweets that seemed pretty heartfelt. They said, "Thank you, God. Love you, KC. And finally, I'm here for life." Mahomes liked that for sure. So let's be honest here. This could mean absolutely nothing more than he's grateful to be here, loves the city, and will do what it takes to stay around. But could it also be a subliminal to the organization that he may want to work out a contract extension restructure of some sort next year? I don't think he's restructured his current contract at all as of right now, or we would have at least heard about it, right? That's what I would think. But if you look at his contract, this is a huge year. Cap hit $29 million, and look at the dead money there, $36 million. Yikes. But looking at the way his contract is currently set up, he only has a dead cap of $7 million next year, and that's the last year of his current deal. So hey, we shall see. He's only 27 and turns 28 in July. Question to y'all, would you guys like to see him work out an extension of some sort next year, or is this a potential big trade like Tyreek, since he will be getting a bit quote-unquote older for Brett Veach's standards? Let me know your thoughts on Chris Jones in the comments down below. I'm certainly here for him to stay as long as he stays healthy and can play at an elite level for sure. And on the subject of contract details, Marquez Valdes-Scantling's contract details were recently revealed, and I found it worth talking about because some people were concerned by the amount that he was getting paid over a 2-year period, which looked to be at the $18 million mark. Well, if we look at the contract in more detail, they show that in addition to his $6 million signing bonus, Valdes-Scantling's 2022 salary was guaranteed at signing. That makes his total cash for this season $9 million. His 2023 cash earnings will also be $9 million. That same $100,000 workout bonus and $20,000 game day active bonus, plus a base salary of $8.56 million. But here's the catch. $6.44 million of his 2023 base salary will become guaranteed on the 3rd day of the league year next March. If the Chiefs choose to release him before that happens, they will have just $4 million in dead money in 2023, which could be spread between 2023 and 2024 with a post-June 1st designation. So that outrageous 3-year, $30 million contract turns out to be only a $9 million commitment. So yeah, it's really not that bad when you look into it, guys. The Chiefs seem to have gone about this in a smart way, which we would all have hoped they would have done. And then Ronald Jones has selected his number with the Chiefs. He's officially number 2, but was torn on using either number 2 or number 21 earlier this week. But hey, number 2 it is. I like the single digit look personally for running backs, so I like it. I'm with it. And then Tyrann Mathieu threw the first pitch yesterday at the LSU Tigers game, and it was a strike, a strike right down the middle. The catcher didn't even move his glove. I found that pretty cool. And also, apparently, the guy in this photo is from KC, lives in Orlando, but was visiting his girlfriend at LSU and just happened to be wearing his Tyrann Mathieu jersey. Somehow Tyrann saw this, stopped him, took a photo, and signed the jersey for him. That is pretty awesome. You love to see that. Okay, now let's talk about Arrowhead Stadium and the future of its location. The Chiefs have been in this current location since 1972, undergoing numerous renovations, and remains a premier stadium in the NFL, but their lease at the Truman Sports Complex is set to expire in 2031, and it appears the Chiefs are exploring potential new options. Kevin Clark said Chiefs president Mark Donovan, when asked this morning about potential new stadium options, said the team has considered options in the state of Kansas. They like Arrowhead and the legacy of Lamar Hunt Stadium, but have been pitched by Kansas developers on a bunch of options. Something to watch. The mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, quickly responded to this saying, Kansas City has proudly hosted the Chiefs since the early 1960s. We look forward to working with the Chiefs, our state of Missouri partners, and local officials to ensure the Chiefs remain home in Kansas City and Missouri for generations to come. And even Willie Gay had some thoughts on this, saying, give it about 8 more years before moving the stadium to Kansas. I'm a Missouri boy. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you care if this stadium eventually moved to maybe, let's say, the Legends area in KCK near Sporting KC, the casino, the NASCAR Speedway, or if the Royals ended up moving their stadium to downtown KC area, which they have been exploring options about? What if the Chiefs stayed there and utilized the extra space from where Kauffman used to be to expand upon it? Lots of options and things to think through for sure. Either way, this would not be until 2031, so there's lots of time here. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And then Dianna Russini of ESPN shared something interesting on NFL Network yesterday that I want to talk about. She said, quote, from what I can understand, the Chiefs are calling teams to see if perhaps teams that we haven't heard about are interested in perhaps trading one of their top receivers to Kansas City. To me, that tells me Kansas City is looking at the entire market. They're looking at free agency, who's still on the street right now. We know they've done their work there, but they're thinking, perhaps we can do better. We can come close to replacing a player like Tyreek Hill by going after a team that has a top receiver that maybe would be open to some dealings. Because we know the Chiefs, they've got the money, they've got the draft picks, and this could be their answer. Of course, if they don't get their answer there, we have the draft coming up in just a few weeks. So yeah, that is certainly interesting and worth noting. The only thing I disagree with about what she said, and I've said this before, we probably aren't going to come close to replacing Tyreek Hill, but we can build solid wide receiver depth and give Mahomes multiple solid options he trusts, which will certainly help. So yeah, interesting. I wonder who the Chiefs have been inquiring about. I know there's been like DK Metcalf rumors, but Pete Carroll sort of seemed to shut that down. He said they're looking to keep him long term. And I know we've been inquiring about others. So yeah, interesting to know. Be sure of this. I'll let you know what happens every step of the way. And on the subject of Tyreek being gone and other wide receivers stepping up, coming on board, I found this graphic very interesting that was shared by Marlo Ferguson Jr. on Twitter that was showing players' stats during a 4-week stretch at the beginning of the 2019 season in which Tyreek Hill was injured and did not play at all. Sammy Watkins had 9 catches for 198 yards and 3 TDs in week 1 against the Jaguars. His total yards in a game and TDs that game were both career highs. D-Rob in week 2 versus the Raiders had 6 catches for 172 yards and 2 TDs, all career highs. McCole Hardman in his rookie year during weeks 2 through 5 had 12 catches for 246 yards and 2 TDs. And if you would have averaged that pace for the remainder of the season, Hardman would have ended up with 51 catches for 1,046 yards and 8 TDs. Travis Kelce in weeks 1 through 5 of that stretch had 28 catches for 439 yards and a TD. And that would have averaged to 95 catches for 1,493 yards and 3 TDs. And Mahomes during that stretch had 4 wins, 1 loss, was 128 of 195 pass attempts with a 65.6 completion rate and a total of 1,831 yards. He had 11 TDs, 0 interceptions, and a QBR of 114.7. He made Watkins and Robinson look like all-stars, and week 5, Hill was still out. Pringle has the only 100-yard game of his entire career. So, Cole, what are you getting at? Why do you share all this? It's because this fact remains, y'all. As long as we have number 15 as our QB1, he's going to elevate players and find ways to create magic, win games, and make it happen. Do I think we still need an additional wide receiver and more help there? Yes, for sure. But do I think all is lost because Hill is gone? No, not at all. The offense will adapt, in theory, becoming more balanced and less reliant on star power. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Make sure to let me know. It is crazy for the Chiefs. Lots of change, lots going on there. In other NFL news, Ravens coach John Harbaugh was signed to a 3-year contract extension. Trey Wingo calls him an absolute outlier in today's NFL, having long-term success with several starting QBs. He owns a 137-88 regular season record in his head coaching career, which began with his hiring in 2008 to replace Brian Billick. It took Harbaugh just 5 seasons to lead the Ravens to a Super Bowl triumph, besting his brother Jim Harbaugh in Super Bowl 47. Since then, Baltimore has posted just 2 losing seasons, 2015 and 2021. So yeah, while the Ravens locked in Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson's future is still a big question mark for the team. A year ago, a contract extension for Lamar Jackson appeared to be a foregone conclusion, but that no deal has been completed and Jackson apparently is in no hurry to get one done has had pundits speculating about the unusual situation. Some have wondered if Jackson is taking a similar approach to what Joe Flacco did a decade ago. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport actually offered another comparison. He speculated that Jackson might be playing the long game, as Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins have done in recent years. So yeah, time will tell there. What do you guys think Lamar Jackson is doing? Waiting for the biggest possible payday in NFL history, especially after contracts like the Deshaun Watson contract, Aaron Rodgers' recent deal, and others. Here's my thing though, I think he's certainly taking a risk because of his play style by waiting on a contract extension or possibly waiting to hit the open market. The way he scrambles, he's certainly at a much higher risk than other QBs of serious injury, so it is certainly an interesting situation. And then Roger Goodell spoke yesterday on several things, but one being Deshaun Watson. There's no timetable on a decision of any potential discipline for Browns QB Deshaun Watson. We will seek to get to the bottom of the facts. We've been very clear with every club, whether the criminal matter gets resolved or not, that the personal conduct policy is very important to us. They understand that's something we're going to pursue. He also then said that the locker rooms will be open again to reporters, which I believe was done away with during COVID safety protocols, and then said there's going to be more opportunities for coaches and scouts of color to meet owners in an effort to boost diversity in the head coach and GM ranks. And then in some big news yesterday, the NFL owners approved a modified overtime rule for postseason only, ensuring that both teams will get a possession. I find it interesting to note, though, that after losing the AFC Championship game to the Patriots in overtime in 2018, the Chiefs submitted a proposal to change the overtime rule for the 2019 season after they lost to the Patriots, but the proposal didn't go forward at that time because of a lack of support. For a proposal to pass, 24 of the league's 32 teams must vote in favor. Had the new rule been in place last season, Allen and the Bills would have received a chance to either tie the game or perhaps even secure a win with a successful 2-point conversion. Okay, so now that the Chiefs were on the other side of the overtime coin, there was now enough support to overturn the rules. Okay, Chiefs lose, overtime rules are fine, deal with it. Chiefs win, the overtime rules need changed. Very interesting. And I want to be very clear here. You can go back to my channel after the Chiefs beat the Bills in the divisional round of the playoffs, and I actually made a video stating my case that the overtime rules really did need to be changed to give both teams a possession in overtime. So don't mistake what I've been saying as me not being in support of this, because I really am. Anyway, the final vote was 29 in favor and 3 not in favor of the overtime rule change. The 3 teams that were not in favor of this change were the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. And here's what the NFL's new overtime rule is trying to guard against. Over the past decade, teams that won the overtime coin flip in the postseason were 10-2, including 7 of those 10 wins coming on the opening possession. Both of those losses, by the way, was in a conference championship game, and one of them super recent, the Chiefs losing to the Bengals in overtime, in which we did win the coin toss but could not make it happen. And the reason they're saying it's so lopsided in the postseason, because that's where the best of the best QBs are playing in games. So the thought there is give both of these QBs a chance, and we all know it's what the fans want. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Josh Allen take the field during that overtime game when the Chiefs scored that TD? Had the Bills failed to score, the loss would have looked a bit differently in my eyes at least, and would have fell more on Josh Allen instead of us all wondering what if. And now the reason it was only changed for the postseason is because the regular season overtimes were much more even in regards to who won the game, regardless of who won the coin toss. It was somewhere around 52%, so pretty much dead even in the middle. So with all this being said, what are your thoughts on the overtime rule change? Do you like the idea specifically for the postseason? Do you hate the idea? Is it trash, dumpster juice? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And that's going to do it for today's news. Make sure to sub for more daily news like this and check out this video here from the previous day's news in case you missed it. So until next time, let's go. How about those